Hey Capricorn, this is going to be your October 2019 reading with me, Kendrick from Providence Tarot. At the bottom of the deck, you got the Seven of Wands, which is talking about a conflict with an advantage in terms of relating to an experience that might be challenging you. It is Mars and Leo, so this is a fiery planet and a fiery sign, so you might be feeling very motivated and not necessarily intimidated. And if you are intimidated, you're not letting people see it. You know what I mean? It's like you're not wearing your heart on your sleeve here with this thing. And this is also Leo, so Leo rules the heart. So these are sort of like matters of the heart, matters of passion, and you moving forward confidently, even within your struggles, even within your hurdles, even with what you feel like you're battling through, right? It's kind of like trudging through something. And I was getting a feeling of being patient too before I started this video. There were a lot of children around me, and before I started to lay the cards out and shuffle, I just shuffled until they went away. So it really does have to deal with being patient and understanding that, how you affect others and others affect you, and it's all a part of the experience. You know what I mean? Mars right now is actually in Libra, which is causing us to really be assertive in terms of our relationships and how we understand our relationships and how they affect us and how we affect the people that we are involved with. It also has to do with your environment and your surroundings, because the seventh house does talk about sensitivities to your environment and sensitivities to your surroundings. There's also a lesson to be learned here, because the seventh house, the exaltation is Saturn, right? And Saturn is in Capricorn right now, which is your sign, you know what I mean? And Saturn is really bringing some karmic changes into your life, right? You're paying back some karma, and you might even be, getting some karma, it's a karmic path I'm getting, and you have to understand what it is that you're weighing out, asserting yourself in a way so that you're doing what it is that you feel like you should be doing or you want to do. Because Mars wants, and Leo also wants. Leo has a desire as well to some degree, because this Leo energy, Pluto is exalted there, so it does have to this has to deal with change and movement forward, and doing it confidently, and there's some strength to this card, because you are being tested and you are being challenged, and you're having to identify with some part of yourself that you probably forgot about, or maybe you were sort of detached from some level of your experience because of what you might have been preoccupied dealing with. You know what I mean? You might be feeling like you have a lot of things to do, or you just might be feeling like you have some things, some responsibilities, some things to see through. You need to see yourself through something as well, Capricorn. I'm going to continue to reference that card as I continue to go, but I'm going to lay out all the cards right here for you. I'm going to do a classic ascendant spread, I'm known for that. So let's go ahead and start, okay? So in the center of your reading, you have the Death card, which is talking about transformations, right? Pluto rules this card, and this is also Mars as well, okay? Mars is talking about aggression. It's talking about, instinct, right? These are not being able to control your emotional instincts, right? And how something might be affecting you. Being that this is Scorpio, it does have to do with some level of weakness or power and control, right? You might be obsessing over something that you have no power over, right? This is also kind of like getting you to see where the stability lies within this situation that you might find yourself in, right? You might need to even try to seek or find some level of stability within your emotional process, right? This is also kind of like a baby tower, you know what I mean? It's like a tower that's less rattling. This is a natural ending. This is something that you need to let go of, right? You might be feeling plagued by the idea of letting go of something or the ending of something. It could have to do with the way that you've been relating to an experience thus far, how far you've come, and realizing that something actually might be over or something is coming to an end. But this is saying, as the sun sets, it will rise again, So this is also talking about rising again, and, like that Phoenix type of energy, letting a phase play out so that another phase can come in. This does also have to do with completion, right? So this is the completion of something. You might even be dealing with the death, some of you Capricorns out there. And if you have any Sagittarius placements, possibly that too. I just said that because, Sagittarius is your 12th house, and what's in there right now is Jupiter. So Jupiter being in your 12th house is bringing about, some abundance in terms of whatever it is that you were dealing with. Jupiter, he um, inflates whatever it is that he touches. Okay, so you guys might just be dealing with a lot of tasks to complete. You know what I mean? There's a lot of effort and energy you're being called to learn. Saturn doesn't really care what it is that you don't want to do. It's going to get you to do it in some way, shape, or form regardless. It doesn't care about time. Saturn rules Capricorn, and then it goes straight into Aquarius. So then it's giving you another chance to know what it is that you were learning. Okay, once it goes into that Aquarius house, or that next house, depending on where it falls in your chart. Now, with this being in Aries full moon that we just had, Capricorn, this has been in your 10th house of career. So you might even be dealing with, weighing out the options of your career. You might be experiencing some sort of like end or transition or transformation within your career. You might even be feeling like you want to be your own authority, or you might want to be able to assert power within your own authority. You might even be dealing with authority right now. Someone that might have control over you, or control over what it is that you can do, or whatever it is that, what you're building, or your foundations. You might be feeling like your foundation is a little bit weak because you're allowing something to be a part of your reality that you probably don't want to be a part of your reality anymore. Let's go ahead and look at what's challenging you. It's Saturn in Sagittarius, so this is a lot of energy. You know what I mean? It's a 10, so it's related to the 10th house, which is Capricorn, and that's talking about work and building things. Career advancement as well. It's talking about opportunities and understanding where an opportunity might lie within an area or situation, something that might be being given to you. Saturn in Sagittarius is talking about, all of the effort that you put into something, how much time it's taken getting there. It's probably been a slow process. You feel very, burdened by the experience because there's a lot of things that have probably gone on, you know what I mean? And the 10s do have to do with, accountability and responsibility, and how you acknowledge your accountability and your responsibility. You know what I mean? It's kind of like bringing focus to your responsibilities and the jobs that you have to do, because Saturn is talking about work and Sagittarius is talking about going the distance. So this is kind of like you really trying to achieve a goal, or trying to get from one place to another. This could even deal with travel. Maybe you want to try to end all of the traveling that you're doing, or maybe you want to try to bring things into focus, condense things down, take care of the things that you have to take care of one by one. You know what I mean? You won't be able to get everything done all at once, so you have to do it one by one. There has to be order within the process. You know what I mean? And in the 10th house, Saturn does want order, right? And wants you to realize how you're going to bring about any kind of order or organization to this area. You know what I mean? And it is talking about how you see yourself. You've been through all these experiences, and maybe you've done all of these things, and it's just kind of like, how am I identifying with my responsibilities? Do you realize that some of your responsibilities don't have to be your responsibilities? They don't have to be your obligations. This is kind of like feeling over obligated, right? Or overly obligated to do many things. This could be pressure that's being applied to you within a situation, or within a circumstance that you might be faced with. You might be faced with a lot of things, so just take it one by one, one at a time. You are being tested, so that you are, it's going to take you into another phase, right? So the idea that you are going to be you're just going to be moving on to something. So this is talking about an ending so that another beginning can actually happen. Okay? So In the past, you have the Hermit, right? And that's talking about your daily habits. The Hermit is also talking about going in to discover something about yourself, right? Maybe you're learning, right? You're gaining more wisdom about yourself, and you're understanding, your rhythm, your patterns. It also is talking about, you having some general epiphanies, right? Um, about what you've been learning and where you're going to go once you process this information that's being given to you from your subconscious, right? And the Hermit is related to the Moon, which is number 18, and this talks about your habits, your daily rhythms, right? It also does talk about where the knowledge that you have or the knowledge that you seek can take you, because Virgo is talking about being of service and doing things with purpose, and so is the ninth house because it's Sagittarius, and Sagittarius does things with intention and with purpose. Okay, so there's a purpose here to you going inward and maybe even isolating yourself, because the Moon isolates itself, and the Hermit definitely does. Virgo esoterically is ruled by the Moon. So that talks about, health, rhythm, balance, sleeping, natural cycles. So, you having to learn whatever these lessons are that you're going inward to kind of like immerse yourself in. It was needed. It's meant to help you get to the next stage. You're very close to almost coming to this point of understanding what everything was for anyway. You know. Now let me go ahead and look at, and that energy trines you too. So this is in your recent past, right? So you definitely were looking for some answers in the recent past, right? To try to even help you with this 10 of wands here, because it's a Hermit, the 9, and then it goes from a 9 to 10, right? And you have this 10 here, which 10s are talking about completions as well. And the death card definitely is as well. So there's something dealing with a Virgo, or maybe even with, yes, let me just say that. In the sun position for you, you have the King of Cups, which is Scorpio. That's fixed water. So this is being mature in your emotional perspective, or just kind of like how you are responding to whatever it is that you have been taught. The King of Cups is mature, right? And he knows how to govern himself when his emotions are triggered, or when he just knows how to deal with other people's emotions as well. He does have a sense of control, so you might be dealing with someone that you feel like has control over your emotional state, and it might just be because you may have given them control. The King of Cups, it's 1/3 Libra, so you could even be dealing with a Libra. The King of Cups is somebody that you probably have an intimate relationship with. It could be work. It could have to deal with shared resources, because Scorpio rules shared resources, you know what I mean? And that's what, your 11th house. So it could have to do with shared resources amongst friends, right? Also, it's probably an intimate relationship with a friend that is a mature one, in terms of like how you flow with each other, and the emotions that you share, right? Because we do share emotional energy with other people, because we're made mostly of water, and water is reflecting, right? So you could be reflecting on an experience, or you could be having, you're trying to reflect on a feeling so that you can gain some perspective on how you feel about something. And the King of Cups is also related to the death card here, because it is Scorpio, and Scorpio does rule transformation. So this is saying that you yourself are have matured to a level of where you're kind of like growing out of something, right? Because the kings are the last card in their suit. So this is also talking about completion and a level of maturity that you might be experiencing, and you're having to kind of like control your emotional state because of what you're going through. There's some lessons that are being learned here in terms of relationships, right? You want to be fair, you know what I mean? Because the King of Cups is definitely someone who is learned. They are seasoned and mature, and yeah. Sometimes they can be ruthless too. Sometimes then the King of Cups doesn't really think about feelings as much. Um, anyway, well, he knows how to control other people's feelings. So maybe this is kind of like you affecting someone emotionally, right? Because the King of Cups does know how to affect others emotionally, right? Because he has the experience of dealing in the realm or in the plane of emotions. Let's look at your moon. Capricorn. Ooh, in your moon position, you have the Ace of Rods, right? And I was just talking about the Aries moon being in your 10th house of career, right? Development, and also just kind of like, responsibilities too, and how you govern yourself, following the rules of karma. Anyway, the Ace of Rods are talking about a new beginning, and this is great because you got the Ten of Rods here that's crossing you, right? As your immediate influence, and then in the moon position you have the Ace of Rods, which is basically a reduction of the 10, right? When you add a 1 and a 0, you're going to end up with a 1. So this ace is talking about a new beginning, and it's also talking about action, potent energy, enthusiasm, drive, motivation. You know what I mean? And motivation is based off of the French word émouvoir, right? And the first part is to, and then the middle of the word talks about something being stirred up. So it's the Ace of Rods, right? You can stir something with a wand or a rod or a stick, right? So this could be talking about your emotions might be stirred up, or there's something that was sparked within your subconscious that probably came to the forefront, and you were recognizing it because you acknowledged it, right? The aces are talking about the acknowledgement of something, your consciousness, right? Being conscious of your actions, right? And how your actions or what it is that you do might affect others emotionally, or how it comes back to you, right? The aces are related to cardinal energy, right? Initiating things, getting things moving. And maybe you have evolved emotionally, and it's kind of like bringing you to this point of recognizing who you are now, because the aces are related to the first house, which is Aries, and the aces are ruled by the magician, which is Mercury, and Mercury esoterically rules Aries. So this is Aries is your 10th house, career, and also your place in the world, kind of like what makes you important, right? That's your 10th house, Capricorn, because it's talking about that's the house of the executive, and it's also the house of law and policy, and yes. If you're a Capricorn rising, then you probably travel a lot too. You know what I mean? So it talks about how you handle yourself when you're in different places, when you're in different lands, or where you're in different environments, right? Yes. How do you identify with your emotional process, and what is this full moon showing you, being that it was in your 10th house? What is the new beginning that you are able to acknowledge or recognize that you want to step into? So the aces are really talking about an opportunity to begin something, and this is a new stage of growth for you. And if you can see it for what it really is, then you'll really be able to take advantage of it, right? So let's look at your anxieties. In your anxieties, you have the Hierophant, and the Hierophant is talking about belief systems, religion. It's also talking about, what it is that you might allow. And it also is talking about status, because the Hierophant is that rules Taurus, and Taurus is talking about, things being the way that they are just because I find comfort in them being this way. Not wanting things to change because, you might be afraid of the change, or you might be uncomfortable with the change. Pluto rules Scorpio, and that's opposite Taurus, and Pluto is talking about change. Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. Uranus is in its fall in Taurus. It's in Taurus right now. So, we are all experiencing some level of change within something that was fixed in our lives at some point up until now, right? So now we're acknowledging that way. Oh, this thing probably can be different. Oh, I probably don't have to live here. Oh, I probably could have, I could start a family or something like that, because the fives are talking about your belief systems and the challenges that we face within our belief systems. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how would you grow if you were never challenged? How would you know who you were if no one ever made you question who you were, or nothing ever made you question who you were, if you never questioned anything that already was? You know what I mean? Because you can be led to believe anything, right? And that's what the Hierophant talks about, because it really is, it talks about controlled environments, being in the margins, being in the confines, being in the boundaries. When you think about bulls or cows, they basically live on land that is controlled by people who take care of them, right? So that's kind of what like Taurus energy is like. It's like, I'm fine as long as I'm taken care of here, and I'm being catered to in whatever shape way, shape, or form that makes me feel comfortable. The fives are also related to the fifth house, which is Leo, and that talks about romance. This also talks about children. So maybe you're having anxieties about children, or maybe you're having anxieties about your romantic life or the commitments that you have attached yourself to, because the Hierophant does talk about commitments and what you attach yourself to, right? Because it's it's attachments, right? What are your attachments? You know, and it's kind of like every when you allow yourself to exist within the walls of a situation, that means that you're missing out on something or you're leaving something out. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what the Hierophant teaches us. It's like, I'm giving you this roadmap, I'm giving you this understanding of what is, to a degree, so far, but it's up for you. It's up to you to determine what this means for you, the meaning behind it. How are you going to utilize this information, these teachings, this experience, this, mentorship, perhaps, or how are you understanding what your spirit is telling you, basically, right? Because this is also talking about inspiration, what you can create. Our belief systems give us limitations too, right? Because the Hierophant is talking about limitations, and it also is talking about how you are unlimited. Because if you feel limited and you believe that you're limited, then you will be. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that you also create your own. What am I saying? You can create your own hell, basically. I didn't want to say it that extreme, but you can create your own hell, right? Because if you allow something to continue and to go on, and you don't feel good about it, or you want to change it, or you want to question it, you know what I mean? Then it's kind of like you're suffering. And sometimes you can suffer because you're not allowing yourself to see what it is that you need to see, and not what other people are trying to make you see. Or other people might be trying to make you see something that you're not seeing for yourself. Okay? That could be what that is. And the King of Pentacles, also Taurus, in the Mars position, okay? You know, if Mars was in Taurus, then the dispositing planet of Mars, okay, let's say this is Mars in Taurus, or Taurus in the Mars position. Let's think about where Taurus is. Uranus is in Taurus right now. Uranus is the dispositing planet of. So if Uranus is in Taurus, then the dispositing planet would be Venus, because Venus rules Taurus. So where is Venus right now? Venus, I believe, is in Scorpio, right? Which is your 11th house of friendships. So Venus could be bringing some attention to how you relate to your friendships, and also, perspectives, different ideas of how to do things or how to achieve things. You know what I mean? The King of Pentacles is Taurus, but it's also 1/3 Libra. So, I mean, 1/3 Aries, right? So it's in this Mars position, okay? And Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus was the sun is in Libra right now, so it's bringing focus to, what you're getting out of your experience and how you relate to it, and if it's bringing you pleasure or not, right? So, I mean, the Hierophant does say, like, I may not be feeling like, it may not be extraordinary, but it's okay. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, or it could be like, I'm dealing with stuff, or I'm suffering with stuff. I'm keeping it to myself, because this card does say what you see is not all there is. So this could be talking about status, right? And status quo energy could make it look like it looks good on the outside, but on the inside it might be rough and tough. You know what I mean? So, we can put on our masks and we can go inside of our house, and people don't really know what's going on within those walls. That's what I'm talking about with Taurus energy. There could be fighting here. There could be, like, a lot of things that you just don't understand. You know what I mean? Or other people don't understand and other people don't see, because it's kind of like you're showing them this, right? The status quo. Well, this is what everybody has, or this is what everybody understands to be right, or this is what everybody will approve of. But is it about everyone else's approval? You know what I mean? Is it really about other people's approval, or is it about your own approval? Right? Because fifth house, Leo, the self, I can create my own reality. I don't have to have my reality created for me by someone else. You know what I mean? Right? And that's very important too, because what do you want your reality to be? That's what we're asking. You and yourself, right? With this Capricorn and this Saturn and this Pluto. Now, both of those planets are actually in my first house, okay? And they're in a loose conjunction, right? So, for me, I'm definitely experiencing some transformative energy and some karmic debts that I'm paying back. And it's in my fourth house of home and family. And that's the house that the moon rules, right? So for me, and my moon is in my 10th house, which is usually Capricorn, right? It's Cancer, though, for me, because I'm a Libra. So it sort of flips. Everything is kind of like mirrored or reflected, right? It's interesting. But anyway, so we're going to look at the Venus position here. Oh, this is good. It's the Eight of Wands. So this is talking about, news and things coming in pretty fast that are going to test you or challenge you, right? Because the eighth house, right, that's ruled by Mars. That's Scorpio, and that's talking about challenges. It's also talking about desire. What is it that you desire that's going to bring you pleasure, right? I feel like it's like all of these things are coming to you to give you these opportunities to experience, what it is that you desire, which is going to bring you pleasure, right? Because the eighth house is talking about some gratification or some it wants to get what it wants, basically. So Jupiter has a very healthy appetite, and so does Sagittarius. They always want to go and do. So this could be like you traveling, right, for pleasure, or this could be you could just be something could be controlling your ability to take this opportunity, or something might be holding you back from taking this opportunity, because the eighth house is fixed, and it's talking about being stuck in a place of feeling, right? So you could be letting your emotions get in the way of you taking care of you receiving these opportunities, right? Because this is what the focus is about, your emotional self. Some part of you has matured, and because the King of Cups is clairvoyant, and the death card being Pluto and being Scorpio is clairvoyant, because Scorpio is naturally clairvoyant. You know what I mean? So it's like you already know. You probably already see what your reality is going to be, but it's kind of like how you get there determines, how you get there is really on you, right? How you get there. And here we go. We're talking about getting there. This is your energy or outcome moving forward, right? Moving forward card is a moving forward card. This is Sagittarius. This is your 12th house of blockages, right? Undoing. So, the 12th house is kind of like what you allow, right? Because the 12th house is Pisces, and in the tarot, Pisces is the high priestess, which is number 2, and Taurus is the second house. So it really is talking about what you allow, or what you just kind of like sacrifice or are willing to give up, or what you're submitting to that might be preventing you from getting to where you're going. You know what I mean? This is Sag, but it's also 1/3 Scorpio. You know what I mean? So it is talking about something is controlling your ability to move forward. See what I'm saying? And it could be Saturn, just because, And the Knight of Rods, let's see. It's double fire. This is energy, potent energy. Like I said, with this Ace of Rods being here, you have a lot of wands. So there's a lot of fire. You might be dealing with a fire sign. You yourself may have some fire in your chart. Like I said, Jupiter being in Sagittarius is probably even making you feel very intuitive, you know what I mean? Because the 12th house is like, a very intuitive house. It's Pisces, right? It's originally ruled by Pisces. But being that your 12th house is Sagittarius. That's actually interesting because Jupiter rules the 12th house, and being that Sagittarius is your 12th house, Jupiter rules that. And Jupiter is in this place where it likes to be right now, which is kind of like making you very acutely aware of what it is that you are idealizing or idolizing, because it talks about idyllic, you know, situations, things that you feel like you'd rather be doing, or things that you feel like would fulfill you, because, I feel like all of the mutable signs are talking about a level of fulfillment or satisfaction. So, the Knight of Wands is saying that you want to experience satisfaction for yourself and not for other people, meaning like having others be satisfied, right? You want to be satisfied, okay? And like I said, the Knights are talking about all of the core cards are 1/3 of the sign that becomes before them, and this is Scorpio, and Scorpio definitely wants to be satisfied, right? This could even be like sexually for some of you guys. You might need to you might be feeling a slowdown there within your sex life, right? Because the Death card in Scorpio is talking about, sex and stuff like that too, right? And this is a 10, right? Jupiter. So there could be a buildup of sexual energy for some of you that needs to be expressed. For sure. Okay, anyway, in the future for you, hopefully the moon, which is right, it was just right across from the Hermit. And I talked about that at the beginning of the video, how important the moon was to Virgo. So the moon is talking about, in the tarot, it rules Pisces. So it's talking about what you are giving up, what you're submitting to. This is kind of like coming out of a phase of like cleansing or being tapped into your subconscious, or like it's kind of like a gestation period that you've just come out of, right? The moon does talk about cycles. It does talk about traveling. So you might be traveling, right? Your emotions might even be getting the best of you. Or just what you don't know, what's hidden to you might be getting the best of you. And in the future, there is some travel, but there is also some spiritual enlightenment and emotional cleansing that you need, right? Because it talks about the moon definitely experiences highs and lows. There's a card that just revealed itself to me, and I'll show you what it is in a second. But yeah, the moon talks about emotional highs and lows, the rhythms of the body. Your body might be feeling differently now, or maybe you just need to go through some sort of like physical therapy or something that is going to be good for your actual physical body, like a massage or something, or doing like some kind of like spiritual cleansing, some soak, whatever. The moon also does talk about your appetite and eating, you know what I mean? And you have a lot of Jupiter cards here. So you might have a healthy appetite, or maybe, healthy appetite meaning maybe you want too much, and what is too much, you know what I mean? It's like, what can you handle, right? When you can no longer handle what it is that you are consuming or what it is that you are using, then you have to stop consuming that thing or stop using that thing, right? The moon is related to Cancer, so these could be talking about emotional wounds from the past, or just some kind of like, cracks in the shell. This is also a full moon, so it's talking about your 10th house and career, right? The moon was just in Aries. It still is actually today, so it still is kind of full. It still is. It's just not right on the mark, It's not an exact conjunction, but the moon is still full. Still working with that energy. The 9th house is talking about what have you learned through this emotional process? What have you taken away as well? Because 9s are talking about, philosophies, right? Through a process of learning, and where it's going to take you. Where are these new philosophies going to take you to the next stage of your life? How is it going to take you into the next phase of your life? And how is the next phase of your life going to be an elevation from the last? How it's going to be different? We're not going back. We're moving forward, right? The moon never goes backwards. It's always moving forward. So this is saying moving forward, right? Like a 9, like a Sagittarius. So you're moving. You're moving forward, or you're moving somewhere, or you're going somewhere. You know, there's an opportunity that might cause you to move. The wind is blowing now. Or there is something. How is the sun over there? The sun is reflecting off of a building, and it literally looks like 30 minutes ago it was right there, and now it's like over there, and it wouldn't be over there. It would just be further that way. Oh my god, and the card just revealed itself to me. The High Priestess. What are you sacrificing? You know, your emotional sensitivities might lead you to sacrificing something, right? Something that's will be revealed, right? But it's already sort of like been there. You know, it's already been there in the ether. This is very much an ether card. It's a 2, and it's related to your perspective and Aquarian nature and friends, you know. It's also related to relationships and beauty and creativity, you know what I mean? Because it's Venus is exalted in Pisces, right? You know, we're talking about Jupiter getting from one place to another, traveling, and it's also weighing things out, weighing out how you feel about a situation, right? Before you determine something, before you make a decision, before you know, do the do. Anyway, but you definitely are dealing with making some decisions here, for sure. Okay, and moving forward with something, you know, not staying stuck in that one place. Let's go ahead and flip over the next card. It's the Temperance card, which is Sagittarius, so that's talking about moving, you know, movement. This is spiritual alchemy, balancing out a situation that you felt like was testing you. You're being tested spiritually, you know. And it is a 5 when you reduce it, you know. It's talking about the growth of, you know, or the acute awareness of, you know, who you are and what you're capable of, right? And what you can do, you know. You might have experienced like some conflict within this. You're at a point where something needs to change for you, and you need to make something else out of something that already was, or make something new out of something that already existed. It's changing it up, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of like spiritually, right? It's talking about spiritual strength here as well. You know, this is very angelic energy, and it's very divine energy. So it's something that's bigger and stronger than you that's coming in and letting you have it, basically. Making you deal with the changes and the fluctuations that you might be experiencing. And it's also just kind of like letting you see what it is that you can do to make it better so that you can move forward. And it's showing you, like, you know, what you might be made of that you didn't know, or it's making you do things a little bit differently. You know, what have you learned? What are your new philosophies? Also kind of like, you know, you're not doing things the way that you've always done them. It's talking about doing things differently, you know. You're existing in 2 different places right now. So it could be that you're almost like in a confused fog-like state while you're doing this, because you don't know what's going to happen, or you don't know. It's almost like when you mix 2 things and you're like, let's stand back. You know, we don't know what's going to happen with these 2 elements that we've mixed. So, you know, with this is saying, like, you know, try to do something different. Try mixing the elements. You know, try to create something new out of something that already was. You know what I mean? Tempering yourself, you know, strengthening your spirit. That's what's happening. Your spirit is being tested so that it gains more strength, or regaining strength. This is like a pit stop, you know, feeling exhausted and needing to, like, feel motivated again. Movement, to stir up emotion, right? Mover. Anyway, Capricorn, I really hope that the volume on this video is perfect and that there are no weird things going on. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on YouTube. I'm Providence Tarot. On Instagram, I'm Providence Tarot as well. I am NYC Kendrick. That's my private account. And then I also have Kendrick NYC. And then I also have a food blog, which is The Tongue Pop. They're all pretty good. Well, some of them are more active than the others. NYC Kendrick and Providence Tarot are more active than Kendrick NYC and The Tongue Pop. But The Tongue Pop, you know, visually stunning colors, if you like, you know, sensations and things like that. Go check it out. I read at Shanti Bookshop and Crystal Gallery on Sundays from 12 to 5. Sometimes I extend that time, depending on what the traffic is like that day. This Sunday, I had a bunch of readings come in right at the end of my shift, so I stayed a little bit longer, and it was great. Um, yes, I believe that is all. If you'd like to book a reading with me, email providencetarotkendrick at gmail.com. I have some performances and shows coming up. If any of you are in New York City and you would like to come and see me dance with the Chase Brock Experience at Theater Row on 42nd Street for a 2-week run, let me know. Send me a message. You can DM me on Instagram or whatnot, and I'll let you know um, what the details on those performance dates are. We'll be promoting it as we get closer to that date. And it's the Four Seasons. It's all about climate change. But it's not, bleak and dreary. Some of it is, but it's more colorful and exciting, right? Kind of gets you thinking. Anyway, Capricorn, I will see you all later. This was long enough, and I'll let you go now.